We grow up with so many really types of conditioning where we think how we're supposed to be. And this can cause stress on the body because it can be incongruent with how we're feeling. Like when you're a child and you're angry and your parent, like some parents feel uncomfortable with an angry child and try to tap it down. That's causing stress to the body. The child learns to stuff it down. And so that's going to later cause health problems.
This is the Two Healers podcast, where we explore health and wellness through a holistic and integrative lens. I'm your host, Dr. Adri Bryant, bringing you insightful conversations with experts from around the world who are transforming the way we approach well-being. Hi everyone! Today I'm beyond excited to introduce our special guest. She is Becky Webb, and Becky is a mom, hormone, and energy coach who specializes in mind-body connection, stress-free healing, and faith-based wellness. She's also a certified life and nutrition coach, and she's the author of the Overwhelm Cure. So I'm just really excited to have her here, and I can't wait for you to hear about her journey and wisdom. So thank you very much, Becky, for being here and for accepting the invitation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Let's start talking about your journey. And how did you first become aware of the connection between the mind and the body in your own healing journey?
Well, when I first had my children, I was tired, I was exhausted, I was burnt out. And that was about the time too. I went through a lot of my training in nutrition. It was kind of all around the same time. And what happened was I was snapping at my kids. I was feeling very overwhelmed. And I got into holistic health mostly because I felt super bad. I want tools for my kids. And so I had low energy, I was angry, I had, up and down moods. Later on, I think I had like some postpartum rage. And I was just so overwhelmed. A lot of times I even call it like stare at the wall syndrome. Like it's like you're so overwhelmed, you don't know what to do. And that's kind of how I felt. I couldn't do much but like stare at the wall. And so I was also a perfectionist, so I was just really, really hard on myself about all these behaviors. I was like, why can't I get it together? Like, I've got to be better than this. And so I felt stuck and I felt bad physically, emotionally, mentally, like in every way possible. And then, when you feel like that, it's easy to get in a cycle where you can't get out. And so I just found myself making things really hard for myself too. I think harder than I needed to be. And so that's kind of when my journey started. That was about when I've had my first child. And so that was about 16 years ago.
In what moment did you find that the mind-body connection could help you to overcome all these feelings that you were having at that time?
My first training was as a nutritional therapy practitioner. And at that time, I was like, okay, the answer has got to be all food. It's all got to be the food that we eat. That's got to be the answer. And I was kind of one-track minded. So I was like focused on that for a while. It wasn't probably until maybe 5 years later even that I realized how much our thoughts even have so much influence over the energy function of our cells and how that just makes so many changes with our hormones, with every aspect too. So it was several years down the line before I realized, wow, there's like way more to this, even to that mind-body connection than I realized.
And do you think, because everything is connected, so the food and the thoughts and our lifestyle, everything is connected and everything will help us to overcome those kind of feeling burnout or feeling overwhelmed. What you can tell us about that in your experience?
Well, as I've walked through my own journey, and I've worked one-on-one with clients over the years, I've done group coaching, I've done lots of work with clients, I've realized that everything's connected. And so, yes, we are here physically present in our body, but I think we're almost led to believe that's kind of it. I mean, we know that the way that allopathic medicine works is all the physical part. And we realize that there are not only that physical aspect, but also your mental and emotional state, your thought life, how you speak to yourself, how tender and loving you are to yourself. And then we also are spiritual beings. So we have that gamut of all those things that really do encompass what it means to be a healthy person. And so it's really not just the physical. It's not just the emotional. It's not just the mental, and it's not just the spiritual, but it's the whole package of what really makes you who you are and really gives you that capacity to thrive.
In your experience, what are the most common signs that someone's body is reacting to unprocessed emotional stress?
I think there's that New York Times bestseller called The Body Keeps the Score. So we know that when we have mental and emotional stress, our body will take on that stress. And we also know there's lots of stressors in our environments. We have toxins that do cause our body a type of stress. I think a lot of times when people say, oh, I'm stressed, they're thinking about, oh, they say I'm stressed, oh, I have all this stuff to do or whatever. But there's lots of different types of stresses. There's toxin in our environment, there's toxins in our food, there's our diet, but then there is that thought life, how we think, how we speak to ourselves, how we react to others, how we react to triggers, what we're aware of even. We grow up with so many really types of conditioning where we think how we're supposed to be. And this can cause stress on the body because it can be incongruent with how we're feeling, like when you're a child and you're angry and some parents feel uncomfortable with an angry child and try to tap it down. That's causing stress to the body. The child learns to stuff it down. And so that's going to later cause health problems. And so really, it's kind of this journey of awareness of, oh, like I was always taught maybe what I'm supposed to be doing, what's right, what's wrong. And maybe those things are even causing me stress. Like I always thought they were what I was supposed to do, but maybe it's not a healthy way to live. Maybe it's not a healthy way to express my emotions. And so I think even realizing those things can really bring the stress level down in our physical bodies, in our thoughts, in our emotional minds, and then give us a deeper connection with ourselves, with our creator, the whole package. We know this is a process, that it's kind of easier than it sounds. But it's all part of the process.
Do you think that stress is something that was taught from our parents in the way that how we react to stressful situations, in the way that we process emotional stress? Do you think that that's an attitude that was learned from our parents, or do you think that we train ourselves through our life experiences?
I think the answer would be probably both. Who else do we have to learn it from besides our families and our parents? All of us go through different traumas, and some are more extreme than others. But a trauma can really be internalizing, like how you perceive the world, and then it causes maybe stressful feelings, stressful ways for you to tense up, not ways to release it. And then I think as we go through life too, there's different situations that happen to us. We can't control everything. And so oftentimes we have those traumas. Maybe we don't process the emotions. Maybe we're holding on to them. We have regrets, have grievances, maybe about the past or future. And then I think we can develop some of those patterns based on that too. So yeah, I would say probably the answer is both.
Now that you say that probably the answer is both, and we can have unprocessed emotions and unprocessed traumas, how do you think that our thoughts and beliefs might influence our physical health?
So if you get into the nitty-gritty of physics and cellular biology, we know that our cells vibrate at a certain rate. And I think people are really unaware of vibrations and what they can do to the body. I mean, in a lot of ways, we are electrical beings. We have these electrical systems that go through our body that keep us alive and vibrant. Electrical system in your heart gives out, then your heart gives out. And all those things can be measured scientifically. So in the same way, I think what we don't realize is that the things that we think can have that influence on our organs. All our organs have certain frequencies. All those thoughts can have an influence. So if you're thinking low thoughts, if you're having trouble getting out of that pit, which a lot of people have been to that place, but that is going to have an impact on your, on your physical body. So I think that's something that we just have to remember, that scientifically all that can be proven. On the flip side, it's okay, like what changes can we make in that environment that we have to increase that frequency in our body so that our organs can thrive, so our body can thrive, so our mind can thrive, so every part of us and those cells that we have that at that fundamental level are vibrating, can vibrate at those frequencies that are designed for us to thrive at.
Do you believe in sound healing, energy healing, and the power of mind-body connection in a spiritual level to heal ourselves?
Yeah, I do. I'm a very spiritual person. I feel like I have a very deep connection with God, depending on how I connect with myself too. But there is so much, I think, in energy healing that we don't know. I don't feel like I'm an expert on it, but one thing I love to read about and love to study is just like spontaneous healings. I love to read stories about cancer patients and stuff that had a spontaneous healing or prayed over and healed. I mean, I think there's so much value there that a lot of people just have a really hard time wrapping their mind around. And I mean, understandably so, in our physical environment, there's a lot that can be unpacked there as far as energy and energy healing and seeing people healed that way.
What role does somatic awareness play in your approach to treat the overwhelming?
My heart is really to teach women to kind of re-engage with their body. And so when we're not aware somatically of what's happening in our body, if we're not aware of even where our heaviness or pain is or feelings in our body, then we're really not engaged with what's going on in our body. And I think a lot of times in our modern world, we easily get detached, right? It's easy to scroll your phone. It's easy to watch a screen. And when those things happen, we buffer or we just kind of disengage. And so when we're disengaged like that, we're not present. We're not aware of what's happening in our body. And then one day we can wake and be like, oh, I'm so sore, but we don't realize all the things that you're carrying. Maybe it's in your stomach, maybe it's in your chest, where you're carrying things. And so when we start to just examine those things and become aware of those things, and we drop into our body and we're here, like actually here, instead of scrolling, then I think it gives us a lot of information. And so your body really is kind of like a computer in a lot of ways. We can make a lot of references to the fact how your body is a processor of information. Our body receives signals. It receives signals from the sunlight. It receives signals from the earth when you're walking on the ground. It receives signals from the environment. And so those signals dictate your hormones all the time. And what we don't realize is hormones are never stagnant. They're never flatlined. They're always changing, but they're also designed to change with our environment. They're designed to be signaled by the environment. The sun signals so many hormones in the body. And when we're people that live inside, disengaged on our phone, not really paying attention, we have these ideas of what maybe our hormones should be like, but your body's not receiving the right signals. My goal is to help my clients help their body receive the right signals, understand those signals, understand how they're feeling, because I think we're just so disengaged, we don't even realize what it's supposed to be like, which will cause a whole nother stress too on the body.
What daily practices do you think that can help strengthen the mind-body connection for all those women who feel disconnected from themselves?
I think some of the simplest things that we can do, I feel like one major problem is if we scroll social media, we see all these influencers that are like, get up at 5 a.m. and go exercise, and then do this protocol and this protocol and this protocol, and make sure you do this and make sure you do this and make sure you do this. And women are just totally overwhelmed. You're like, oh my gosh, I should be doing all these things. And then we're hard on ourselves. But what if you could just get up in the morning and not look at your phone? What if you could just get up in the morning and go out in the sunrise and enjoy the sunrise, even if it's just for a couple minutes? What if it's like going out on, nice days and going and putting your feet on the ground for 15 minutes? What if some of these ways to our body really could be that simple? If we could take the stress off the body, the stress off the idea that you're supposed to do all these things perfectly to have good health. What if we could take some of those things off your plate and just add some really easy things in that actually don't take that much time, that actually calm you down, and that actually help you, one, enjoy life more, and two, just engage with what's going on in your body and then see what happens. And it's actually really amazing just what making some of those really small shifts and really small changes, how they can change a lot of things over time. And it may not be instant. Our body needs time. Our body actually likes to go slow and we like to go really fast. And I think we need to be aware of this. But so it may take time, but these shifts can change everything really in the long run.
Yeah, I think that you're right. Going slow is the key, and not try to do everything perfect at once. Mm-hmm. And I think that it can be more difficult when you are a mom and you have all these chores and responsibilities.
Yeah, it can be. And moms put a lot of pressure on themselves. And I think our cultures and our societies also put a lot of pressure on moms, which isn't helpful. Because I think a lot of times moms don't realize like this pressure doesn't have to be there. Maybe I'm putting it on myself, or I'm listening to everything around me, or I'm listening to social media. And maybe it doesn't really have to be there. Like maybe it's not really a standard that makes you a good mom. And I mean, that's what I like other moms to be aware of too. Are the things that in my head make me say, oh, this makes me a good mom, do they really make you a good mom? Or are you making sacrifices in a way that are actually hurting you and your family, when there's easier things that could be helping and supporting you and your family?
That's for that reason, I think that stress-free healing techniques can be important.
Yeah, I mean, they can be life-changing because you realize that there's so much pressure on you that doesn't need to be on you.
What do you think that the phrase stress-free healing really means?
From my perspective, because I feel this, because I totally did it to myself. I think a lot of us in our heads, we have this long checklist of all these expectations we're supposed to meet. And in that checklist, in those expectations, if we don't check them all off, we're very hard on ourselves. And so the shift that I want to help women make is that you don't need that checklist. Let's just cross out that checklist, or let's burn it up and burn it, tear it up and burn it, because that pressure that you're putting on yourself, you don't need that pressure. And you don't need that pressure to heal. And I think for so many years, even myself, with all my training, thought, well, we need to do all this and this. And if we don't do all this and this and take 40 supplements, then we're not going to make it. And I don't think that's true. And I think that's causing much more stress than everybody needs. I think most of the time we're just making it way too complicated. And it wasn't ever supposed to be that way. And so when I think of stress-free healing, my biggest complaint being in the health and wellness space for the past 12 to 15 years, there's always something different. There's always something different we need to do, and people are always disagreeing, and I just don't even know where to start. But maybe it doesn't have to be that.
Do you think that the stress healing practice, it's actually related to some ancient practices, but they weren't called stress healing practice at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of things that when we step back, I think there's kind of a couple different camps. For a while, I was watching all these, oh yeah, I want to biohack all these things. But what if we do look back to some of those ancient healing practices and think about what healers were doing way back before we had all the technology we have now, all the medical advancements we have now, and what were they doing to help people? And we see incredible things happening. Patients healing from the morning sun and from grounding and from all these real simple practices that are not always part of our life anymore. because we're so indoors, we're so around, fluorescent lighting, and we're so missing the signals that we need. And a lot of those, are just kind of, they're age-old things that work really well. And we just kind of forgot about them in our modern biohacking ways.
Yeah. What myths about healing or health have you seen that cause more stress than support?
Yeah, the whole idea of getting up at 5 a.m., doing your whole routine, which there's lots of jokes on social media now about that, like the 3-hour routine of when you get up, because you do see a lot of these accounts and you're like, oh gosh, maybe I'm supposed to be doing that too, and this and this and this. And I think that it just puts a lot of stress on people, because one, moms are like, I don't have time for that. I guess I'm just doomed to feel bad. And then, you have other people that are like, well, I can't ever measure up to that. I have a job. I have things to do. And I think just a lot of times those ideas put so much stress on us, because we start having those thoughts of, well, I guess I'm like this forever. I guess I always have to be tired. I guess I always have to want a vacation from my life, and I always have to be exhausted. And those thoughts in themselves are going to cause stress. And I think that's the biggest problem we see out there. And I also think this idea of just a pill for an ill kind of thing, even in holistic medicine, can be hard. Like, you have this going on, you have all these things, you have to take literally, like, some people are on 30 supplements. And I don't think that's necessary. Like, to me, I think that also stresses the body. When it's that much, I don't know if it's actually supporting.
And how would you recommend, in this case, women, start creating a space for rest and healing and start overcoming their overwhelm when they feel that they don't have time to do it?
I think one of the best practices I've used has been, a lot of us carry a lot of to-do things around in our brain. And what I like to do is just dump it all on paper. It's like everything I feel like I need to do. And I dump everything on paper, even the little things that you think, oh, well, that's just self-care. But even the little things like showering, eating lunch, eating breakfast, things that are some non-negotiable. Some of these things that are self-care that we are easy to get out of, especially as moms, busy moms. And some of it's even like going outside. And I even dump all that on my paper along with whatever is on my to-do list, right? The things you feel like you have to do. And then it has given me personally a lot of freedom just to kind of schedule it out in my calendar. Like, if I need to schedule a shower, I need to schedule a shower. And that's the thing too. I like to prioritize those things on my paper. Like, self-care needs to be at the top of the list, right? Because if we're not taking care of ourselves, we kind of go downhill. And it feels selfish a lot of times as moms to say, well, I need to take care of me. But actually, how can you care for other people, especially little people, well, and even big people, when you can't care for yourself? And I found as a mom that you can't. And so really, when it comes down to it, what's more selfish? So I think even when we're prioritizing what to put on our calendar, we really, really need to look at how we're caring for ourselves too. And if we're making time for those things, and if those things are a priority. And they need to be a priority for you to thrive. And the other thing about having small children, and what we were talking about a little bit about energy, is when we are anxious, when we are stressed, when we are, feeling overwhelmed, like, our kids get all that. Like, they pick it up. The people in your home, they pick it up. We think that we're the only ones dealing with it, but we, when it comes to energy and everything, you project that on everybody around you. And so if you're going to really be, stable and healthy and giving to your family like you really want to, then you need to make those things a priority. It really needs to be very important to do that and to put that on the top of your priority list. Because no matter what kind of tricks your brain plays with you, that's selfish or you don't have time for that, you actually need to make time for that, or your health is going to tank.
I think that that's another myth in this world of holistic health, because some people can say, for example, if you tell them you need to make time for yourself and your self-care is important and is the number one in the list, some people say, but what are you talking about? I have all these chores, I have my kids, I have my job, I can't think about myself or put myself in the first place because I'm being selfish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people think like that. And it's unfortunate because I think a lot of that idea is actually what is so detrimental to our families and to our kids and harming them. And we think that it might be the opposite. And it's really harmful for everybody involved.
What's one powerful yet simple shift that can help move someone from stress mode, survival mode, into stress-free mindset or healing mindset?
I would almost say, but start by putting boundaries around when you sleeping time, your bedtime. We know sleep's important, and obviously some people have different struggles with sleep than others. But at some point, it's like we have the capacity today to basically stay up all night. And that was not always the case. Before the light bulb was invented, before electricity was invented, which was not really that long ago, if you look at a timeline, you only had a candle. And if you are sitting with a candle at night, you're getting tired. So we have these bright lights on late at night, and then we have these screens in our face, our phone, and you feel like you could stay up all night. And some of that is the signaling that you're getting from your face in a screen, the blue light in a screen, the blue light coming off your light bulbs. And so if we can even calm the lighting at night, get off your screen a couple hours before bedtime and have a bedtime that's pretty sacred to you as far as going to sleep and waking up. But to have some kind of boundaries around your sleeping time, I think that can make a huge difference because most of us don't get enough sleep, or we have too bright of lights in our face, or we're either going to bed with screens and then waking up with screens. And just making that time sacred can take a lot of stress off, really.
Yeah. What are these steps that you take with your clients to create a healing environment in their lives when they are full of noise, work, and they have many obligations?
Yeah, so for a lot of my clients, a lot of it can be personalized, depending on the age of your children, depending on your schedule, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or whether you have to go to work every day or whatever. A lot of it's personalized, for sure. But I think it is important to look at diet. Diet can be very important. I think we want to figure out how to take that stress off with diet. It's important to look at sleep and those boundaries. Look at your hydration, and if you're getting hydrated enough, we want those cells to have the electrical energy. I always like to look at minerals and if you're getting enough electrolytes. And then we look at, your thought life too, and look at how you perceive yourself. And again, it's small simple shifts. So it's not like, here, do all these things. It's like, here, let's take small steps. What's going on here? Finding out different things about your environment, which I think is missing. A lot of practitioners aren't asking these questions. Are you getting outside? How are you spending your time? And I think these questions are very fundamental to our overall health. It's just some of those daily life questions of some of those habits that we're doing all the time that we don't realize are so detrimental to us. Are you getting outside? Are you enjoying the outdoors? Are you smelling the flowers? Some of these things that could just be really easy shifts to bring down your stress level that could help with your body being able to create your hormone. And so I look at a lot of that with my clients and just kind of go through and just help them tailor that and tailor it in a way that I'm always really aware of, okay, what feels difficult for you? How can we shift it? What are some small things we can do? Instead of here, let me give you this laundry list of things to change, because we know that humans don't change that fast, especially when we've been doing something for 5, 10, maybe even a year. So that's kind of where we go with all that.
Yeah, it's difficult to change your habits. Your personality is difficult to change.
Yeah, it's difficult. And I think some of those things we've been doing maybe our whole life, and we don't realize how harmful those habits are, or that we were supposed to do anything different. These silly light bulbs, especially after they got rid of all the incandescent bulbs and stuff, it's like, oh, there's blue light coming off your light bulb 24/7. And you know what? The sun only has blue light in the middle of the day. So that's doing all the signaling too that people they aren't aware of, because we've just taken everything as, well, I guess this is just how we're supposed to live.
So you mentioned before something really important, that is the diet changes into the recommendations that you give to your clients. So the gut is really important, right? Because if your gut is fine, then your emotions improve.
Yeah, absolutely. And I found it interesting. I was listening to a practitioner friend of mine talk about a study that was done recently in the past year or so about how Parkinson's patients, they had a huge imbalance with their B vitamins, and that increased their bad gut bacteria. Well, we know that B vitamins are very essential in detoxification. And so I just found it interesting that, yeah, when you do have issues with your gut, then your body also, there's problems going on with detoxification. So if your body's a bucket, if you're getting filled up and filled up and filled up with toxins, and your detoxification pathways are closed, shut down, can't get rid of stuff, then you're going to have a lot of problems. And so this can be with the mind, body, your brain. There's a lot of connection with your gut and your brain. So plus that has to do with your energy, how your cells handle your energy, your metabolism. All these things are connected. And so, yeah, it's really important to have that healthy gut, make sure all those detoxification pathways are open, that you can get rid of your junk, that you're not filling up with toxins and then your body doesn't know what to do with them, because that can be problematic too. And stress causes that dysregulation as well. And so, working with the diet is really important, especially in a world where, unfortunately, a lot of our foods that we can go out and just buy at the grocery store, if they're packaged foods and things, can be problematic because they're full of a lot of junk that your body doesn't really know what to do with.
Yeah. Healthy gut, healthy emotions, less stress equal you feeling less overwhelmed.
Yeah. You feeling less overwhelmed. Again, some of those practices, just talking to yourself, loving on yourself, being accepting of yourself, are all part of it too.
What are some early signs that someone is chronically overwhelmed but doesn't even realize it?
One sign that I think people don't really realize is even going outside in the sun and the sun being too bright. So, your adrenal glands are very important in this whole process, which are also important in regulating your hormones. And sometimes what people don't realize is that even wearing our sunglasses in this day and age can be problematic. But obviously some people, like, the sun is so bright when they go out, they feel like they have to wear sunglasses. Even that bright sunlight indicates that your adrenals are just struggling, and that stress has tax on your adrenals. What's happening is we get in this fight or flight, and our fight or flight is very important to our physiology, but we're not supposed to be in it all the time. Even that constant scrolling. When I'm online, and I'm online a lot because I run my businesses online, I see all this stuff pop up. It's like tragic stories, and they're like tragic stories, right? So people share these tragic stories. We know bad things happen, and we don't have control over everything in this life. But also, do you think we were really designed to carry all this? Like, in a regular world, in a world before social media at least, we didn't know about all the, I would have never seen those stories on a day, and I wouldn't have ever even thought about, someone's child passing away in a day. And it's a really heavy load to carry. Even thinking about those things, even those things passing your thoughts, it's like, oh my gosh, such a heavy load. Before there was all this social media, you didn't find out about everything happening in the world unless you're sitting there watching the news, and that's another problem. But it's like human beings were not designed to carry the world's problems. And it's almost like we do when we're watching social media and seeing all this stuff pass by. And those things are causing so much stress on our bodies too. And, increasing anxiety, increasing fight or flight. And while the body was designed to be in fight or flight, it wasn't designed to be in fight or flight 24/7. So we have to be mindful of that, of what's causing that fight or flight 24/7, and how to step back in our modern society to be able to let our body be like, okay, I'm not going to die. Everybody's okay. My family's okay. And like things happen, but everybody is okay. In this moment, everybody's okay.
Besides social media, what could be one of the biggest overwhelm traps?
It would be just the idea of perfectionism. Trying to live up to this phantom wife, phantom mother. I have to live this perfect life. And, we get some of that with social media, but I think a lot of that's also created by the things around us. And I think that probably is the other major contributor of, I'm not doing well enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not reaching this imaginary standard I have for myself. And that's also, causing so much stress on moms.
I mentioned it before, and you mentioned it before too, but you wrote the book, The Overwhelm Cure. We know maybe a little bit of what inspired you to write it. But can you talk to us a little bit more about your book and describe 3 important steps for the overwhelm cure?
Yeah. I help overwhelmed, burnt out moms really reclaim their energy, find balance, and live their lives helping them listen to their bodies, and then make those small, impactful shifts. And really what the idea is to really embrace that self-care and intuition. So some of the already things we went into, I talk about more in depth. One is just that idea of perfectionism, talking to yourself. We discount a lot of times how powerful our words are. And that's not only to other people, it's to ourselves. Even as a mom, I watch all these teachers and coaches, and I keep thinking teachers and coaches have so much influence over children. And in the same way, but we all need those positive words. We need those positive affirmations to ourselves. We need them to ourselves even to give to others. Also, just diet as far as what things to prioritize in your diet. Maybe some easy small shifts that you can make in your diet that can make it more nourishing to you and less stressful to you, which is really important. And then we also just give some more tips about getting better sleep. I feel like that sleep piece is so underrated and so important. But of course, there's other parts and pieces in there just to help with just processing the information, helping it integrate into your life easier. And that's the thing. Your health shouldn't be something that feels so stressful that it's just too hard to even measure up to that standard, right? I don't think we were designed for that. I don't think we were designed for health being a regimen of 525 things every day. That's stressful and that's too much to think about. And I feel like in a lot of ways, that's what we've kind of made it into.
You said an important thing that taking care of our health shouldn't be difficult. And sometimes taking care of our health feels like a chore because we are busy.
Yeah. And I think it takes away from truly living, which is what life's all about. It's about truly living. It's about finding your creativity. It's about expressing your creativity, loving on other people, connecting with other people. And sometimes when we make it so hard, we miss out on truly living. And that might be one of the biggest detriments. When it ends up like that, then you're probably going, you're going the wrong direction.
If someone listening is feeling completely overwhelmed right now, what's the very first thing that you want them to know or you will want them to do?
Well, I want them to know that they're not alone, because sometimes it feels very isolating. And first, I want them just to take a deep breath, to know that everything's okay. And sometimes we need to condition our body just to know that everything's okay. Of course, my book's available that kind of just walks you through it. And another book that's called The 365 Days of Prayer and Purpose. And really what that is just a journal. And it's just journal prompts. There's 365 journal prompts for every day. And you can just, it helps you process. It helps you think through just journaling and just calming your body every day. Eventually, I will be doing an audio version to be able to kind of send that out to moms to listen on the audio version. But we just need to be present. We need to calm. We need to take a deep breath and stop living up to these crazy expectations that nobody can meet.
Yeah. If people wants to know more about you or wants to work with you, where they can find you?
At the moment, the best place to find me is on Instagram. But coming soon, I'm kind of redoing my website. So I also have a website, BeckyJWebb.com. And that will be a place where you can find me too. So that should be good to go in the near future.
Do you work with one-on-one people or do you have group sessions?
Yeah, so I do work one-to-one. And I have a 12-week course that I'm also tweaking right now that works kind of side by side a group coaching program. I'm tweaking it a little bit, so that'll be available in the next couple months. Probably in the next 4 to 6 weeks, that will be available as well to work in a group coaching setting.
Awesome. And also you have your book.
And my book. Yeah, my book's available right now.
Thank you, Becky, for sharing your wisdom. Believe me that your insights are truly inspiring. And I know that they will resonate with so many people looking for a new way to approach the overwhelming and the burnout.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who might need this message, subscribe, and leave us a review. Thank you all for being here and for listening to us. Remember that the power to heal is in with you. See you next episode.